Hey guys, it's Mr. Schmidt here, and in this video we're going to continue building our model of a perfectly competitive labor market by now looking at labor supply. So labor supply is the number of workers that are willing and able to work at different wage rates. So whereas labor demand represents the firm, labor supply, if we think back to the circular flow model, represents individuals or households. I hedge to think of labor supply as consumers. I know it's tempting to think that way because of the product market and demand in product markets being consumers, so supply in labor markets is consumers because they're flipped. If you want to think of it that way, that's fine, but consumers really deals with purchasing products, whereas we talk about individual households or workers having resources to sell. And that's what we're getting at here with labor supply. So labor supply is all about the worker. Now, in terms of drawing labor supply, if we go back to what we did in the last video, the labels on the axes are going to be the same. So we have Q for quantity of labor, and then we have W for the wage rate, right? The wage that is being paid per worker. And so if you're a worker, you want to work for the highest wage you possibly can. And so if the wage is higher, you will supply more of your labor. And so therefore, the labor supply curve is unsurprisingly upward sloping, just like that. So that is the labor supply curve. And so just like with the labor demand curve, of course, we should ask the question, what would cause the labor supply curve to shift? And just like labor demand, there are four things. So let's talk about those really quickly. So for a left shift of labor supply, the first thing would be a decrease in education or training. And I know that seems weird, right? Like, how do you lose education? But what I'm really referring to here is that there's less opportunities for education and training. You have a workforce that maybe doesn't have access to as many jobs because they literally can't do those jobs. My school does a great job with its C4 program that allows for students to get into fields that are in demand, and therefore they have the opportunity to supply their labor to, and would shift the labor supply curve to the right due to that increase in training opportunities. Of course, if there's a sheer less number of workers in the workforce, then yeah, there's less labor supply. If more people are coming in, maybe there's more generous immigration policies that allow more people into the country, you have a greater labor force, greater labor supply. Another left shift would be if working conditions are poor. If people are like, you know what, I don't want to work because the conditions are really bad. I have to work a lot of overtime. There's poor lighting. There's mold. It's nasty. Less labor supply. Whereas if the conditions are really nice, I know in some of the big tech companies like Google, there's daycare, there's a gym, maybe even a place to get a massage, a lot of different nice amenities, better working conditions, shift labor supply to the right. And then finally, cultural preferences can make a difference here, right? In terms of what is the attitudes of a particular culture, group of people, an individual, what is their attitude towards work versus leisure, right? If people prefer leisure, less labor supply. If people prefer to work and enter the labor force and supply their labor, then labor supply would shift to the right. Again, I would tell you that probably just like labor demand, it's the first two that you are most likely to see on the AP exam, but I do think it's worth noting that working conditions and cultural, individual attitudes and preferences can make a difference in terms of whether or not someone supplies their labor to the market. So that's all for this video on labor supply. Until next time, have a great day.